Hi guys, what's up? My name is Gaise Baba, and you're welcome to Black Flame. On this episode, we have our. I'm happy. Finally, we have another female guest. People, let me rest small. But trust me, guys, I don't. It's not so. It's curated, but it's not really. I'm just in a conversation with someone, and I just perceive you should come on Black Flame. Or I know people already, I'm like, oh, this person should come on Black Flame. So it's not so, not be like say we they choose, say me they be guys or men or they should be women. It's just, it's as it flows, right? But as it pleases the Lord, we have another female guest on this episode, and a few people in the corporate world will know her, maybe not a few. Well, for many of you, you may not, but as we start to talk, I believe that you'll be hooked to your screens or to your devices where you're listening because you'll be hearing utterance. So please make welcome Funmilayo Falola. Dayomo, Lipateo. Okay, for the non-Yoruba speaking people, what I said was, you don't recognize person, you cannot clap. That's Dayomo Lipateo. So I'm teasing people in the studio. So I know the beat I know very strongly is that you're a corporate person and you've worked in the corporate space for many years. You've risen to heights as head of marketing, right? Head of marketing for First Bank.
For Wema Bank.
For Wema Bank. But you were at First Bank as well.
Yes.
What was the role?
Management.
Head of brand management.
And internal communications and warehouse.
Internal communications. You are hearing the communication. So you're head of
something
in First Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And you were also head of marketing at Wema Bank.
Yes.
And before that, you were in advertising.
Yep.
Where else were you?
Advertising, public relations strategy. Yeah, like that.
Right.
Local government, Yobe State local government.
Yobe State local government.
Yes.
Okay, youth service.
Yes.
It has to be youth service.
Yes. But it was fantastic.
We bless the Lord. So I'm going to keep this conversation a lot around women in the corporate space. And that's what I want to do. I met you a couple of months back, and I've heard different chapters,
versions
of your very full life. And from the very first day I met, many people call her FF because she's Funmilayo Falola. So from the very first day I met her, I told her, you're going to come on Black Flame because the stories were just very storyful. Like such a full life. Like all the aspects, all the phases of your life have been very eventful.
Yep.
You know. So we will, I want to make sure that I capture your time in the corporate world as a woman.
Okay.
And you can speak to the dynamics of that. And you've also worked within Nigeria and across Africa. Yeah. East Africa for how many years?
Well, East Africa, West Africa, 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So you really have a vast experience in the corporate world. First, how do you think it is for a woman?
So earlier on you said I am a corporate woman. No, I am a woman who works in the corporate world.
I said you're a woman in the corporate world. That's what
yeah,
I said.
You said that later, but just saying,
okay,
I have had the opportunity to work in the corporate, what we call the corporate space. How's it for women? Wow, that's like a trick question. How is it? I think it can be fun. I think it can be interesting. but I'm also aware that it's very tasking. It's very difficult. It can be very eventful, like you said, but it's different. Men and women in the corporate space have it different. The yardstick is different. The opportunities are different. The growth is different. And I think women have to work twice as hard.
That thing is true.
Very true. So twice, 3 times as hard. And sometimes I believe that the men sort of believe that you're there, but they don't sort of think that you will move past them. And when they then see you coming, the race is on. And there is a boys' club. Yes, it exists in its fullest form. There's no women's club.
There's no women's club.
There's no women's club, but there is the boys' club. Everywhere I've worked, there's always been the boys' club. Advertising, in the bank, in the energy, there is the boys' club, and it's alive. It's thriving and it's growing. In the last couple of years, maybe we've started having women support groups. We have a lot more organizations, also by virtue of CSR, sustainability, SDG goals. We have a lot more support groups. That's how I would put it. But the intentionality with which men build and grow, with women, we're still lagging behind. But I will tell you that I think that the corporate world has energy. If you're willing, if you're ambitious, it makes you come alive. As a woman, if you're ambitious, you are labeled, In the corporate world, women have different labels depending on what you come with. And it's very interesting because a man with a similar character doesn't have that same label. So it's just one of those things that I think makes the corporate world exciting. I don't see it as a limitation anymore. I see it as an opportunity. So the few of us that actually get by and we're telling the guys, see, you didn't see me coming. I think it's worth celebrating.
What's the balance of power?
It's skewed towards the men.
How skewed? With all the women support,
75%.
75, 25?
Yeah, 75 to 25.
But we've had women, at least in Nigeria, we currently have maybe 2 MDs, bank MDs, women, maybe like 2 or 3 chairpersons of banks. That's some power.
So you see, the thing is, for you to even be counting, does that not show you there's a problem? For us to be saying we've had 2, we've had 3, we've had chairmen, we've had, should we be counting? Should we be measuring it? Or should it not be natural? Should it not just be that, we have this individual who's sitting here, but we're still counting? So that, I think, tells you that there's still some work to go.
Okay, yeah. Cool. I didn't want to start from beginning. I did start from maybe like 4 or 5 levels up. So let's kind of go to the beginning. So the beginning of your corporate job. You started from advertising?
I started from advertising. Very exciting world. Can I say that my life was not supposed to be from advertising? My dream was not supposed to be to work. I'm not supposed
to work.
Yes, I'm not supposed to reveal this yet, but I will reveal it. And I know that my parents somewhere, if they ever get to watch this, well, they will hear it for the first time. As a young lady, still a young lady I am, but as a young lady just out of secondary school, the practice then, and my dad used to say that all I owe my children is to send them to the university. He didn't owe me that. I wasn't interested. My dream at the time was to sell lace in Lagos Island. Yes. Please don't ask me how, who, what, because the only thing I remember watching was Fuji House of Commotion.
Right.
And I don't know that anybody there was selling lace, but I don't know. Maybe someone there just looked really nice in lace. But my dream at the time was to have this shop in a place like Lagos Island,
Isaleku.
Well, a really nice place where I was controlling the market. They were coming to me and saying, Twali Mama, that kind of thing. I had presence. I had control. I was running things, That was my dream. And
that's some dream.
that was my dream. And interestingly, I tried everything I could
to not go to the
university. Now I'm going into something that but anyway,
please.
That was my dream. And I tried everything. I tried to fill JAMB. I won't give you the details of how I tried, but it's amazing that I failed at failing. So I filled my JAMB form and I put in subjects that I'd never done before so that when I wrote the exam, I would fail. Alas, God had a plan.
So how were you picking answers?
Mini, mini, mani, mo. Father had a donkey. Donkey died. Father cried. Mini, mini, mo.
And you passed?
And I passed.
Wonderful.
Yep. And I got admission into University of Lagos. Yes. The head I brought to this world there.
Very strong.
Very strong. Anyway, so that was my dream. And so coming off that, and because of the subjects that I'd picked, because of what I'd done, I didn't sort of have a direction. So I picked, I think I picked literature, CRS, and maybe government, something that, biology, something that just didn't make sense. And so it was difficult to get admission. Or should I say that it was difficult to then do one of the subjects that my parents would have wanted me to do.
Top courses.
Like law or engineering. My parents did want me to study engineering. In fact, petrochemical engineering to be precise. But
there's money there.
But somehow I ended up with political science. So you're how old was I? 18, 19-year-old getting into political science. If you know how political science departments are structured, you actually have really old people in political science. So I had
as lecturers.
No.
As students,
as your colleagues, as your mates. So I had people I would call uncle and daddy as my colleagues. So I had no choice. I had to read because I had to read for others because uncle and auntie would say, Smally, you don't read. So that's actually where I got that nickname for that. Smally exam day or test day. And of course you have to read. And then I used to write in like really big text so that they could copy me, that kind of thing. But I found political science really, really exciting. I found Karl Marx very exciting. My favorite topic was the leakage theory. And the leakage theory really is something that you can apply in corporate space and in the world, as it were. And it's really, as a people, as an organization, how much leakage are you willing to accept, whatever your business or whatever it is. And it just fascinated me the way people would then take decisions on how much they actually are willing to accept. So anyway, so that's the background done. So of course, got into Unilag and studied political science and realized that I actually love to read. So you have to read, I was also privileged to have had a visiting professor from America as my course coordinator. So he came in and I was lucky to have been assigned to him. So that also sort of made it a lot more exciting. And so that was the beginning of the studying formula. So no longer the lace lady was buried, dead and buried forever.
Right.
Maybe in the future, I don't know. But anyway, so that's how I started. And we finished, I was lucky. Well, there were usually a lot of strikes, but I happened to have finished in 4 years. I was a rascal in school, safe to say. Political science was also perceived as one of the easier courses. Yes. But it wasn't so easy. But we had
Which
lectures.
Which one are you answering?
Wait, now we had lectures from 10 to 1, 3 times a week, something like that. So was I
3 hours a day?
Sort of.
So plenty time day.
Yeah. So there was a lot of visits to flavors, So we asked
The people in your generation will know those places.
Yes. It was at the back of Unilag Gates. Yes.
Right.
I missed a test. I remember that I followed one boy to Flavors and I missed a test.
Wow.
I remember.
It was not a prerequisite for something else. So you could
My
just
darling, I would like to tell you that it wasn't, but it was.
So you did carry over?
No, I didn't carry over, but I had to study really hard to make it up. Yes, and
did the boy help you study?
He's married with his own family right now. Let's just put it at that. But it was so there was a lot of reading involved. So finished school in 4 years. I think my set must have been the one that started the batch A and batch B of youth service or something. Right. So I had the pleasure of having to stay home. And we were living in Jerry Ikeja at the time, and there was this school, Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, that I used to walk past going home. So sitting at home and not doing anything, I told my dad, Daddy, there's a school over there, some Institute of Public Relations. Can I go there so that I don't waste time? And my dad says, oh, yeah, why not? Now, imagine I wanted to be the lace lady. All of a sudden, I want to read. And so that's how I went there. So finished from there, I think it was a few months long, finished from there. My dad was like, hey, PR. I think I know someone who does PR and all of that. So that was my segue into public relations. So I started working in
segue. So you hear that word, segue.
I started working in an advertising company, the PR arm of an advertising company. I think that was the first jolt of corporate world and reality. I got in there and it was nothing like I'd ever seen before. My parents worked in government. So it was different working in a private space. I remember the first day I got into work, you know, the ARC files, the hardcover files.
Yeah.
So I got in and the woman says, oh, hello, you're the one working. And she just points at it and says, study the files. I don't understand. Is this work? So spent about a week trying to study files. In the middle of it, you fall asleep. You wake up. If she comes in and she sees you asleep, you are dead, you know. But for about a week, that was it. And
you were like an intern?
Yes, at that time, I was like an intern. And I was like, this is not making any sense. So I remember one day going to her to say, excuse me, ma, this is not going to work. That this is not why I came here. And she was looking at me and I said, no, I did not study 4 years into university. And almost 1 year of public relations to come and be studying fire. That is not possible. We have to do something. You know, she looked up from her table and I was like, she actually said it in Yoruba, okay, Talele. I said, it's me. And the woman looked at me. I said, yes, it's me.
Talele is, who is this?
Yes, that you need to give me work that if not, there's no point coming here. She just put her head down and continued what she was doing. And I was standing there. So I was in between. Should I continue talking or should I just walk out? So I sat down in front of her. Said, for as long as you are going to look at the paper in front of you, I will look at your head. So the two of us started the staring game. At some point, I think she must have been like, this one is not living here. So she said, so we have an event tomorrow. And she just started reeling stuff out. And that was my lucky break. And I worked. She was a hard worker. She drilled me. She did everything. At that time, she was what I would describe as those wicked women bosses. That was how I pictured her. That was how I experienced her. She was no nonsense. She didn't give me, I didn't have a break. The guys in the team sort of had it easy, but for me, you just had to keep moving. You had to keep doing. She just kept pushing, you know, like you came, you said you want to walk, Abi.
You will walk,
that kind of thing. So thankfully, youth service came calling. And so that was my break. So I left them. And but interestingly, before I went for youth service, they had actually hired me. So they had hired me full time. And so it was to go to youth service, you know, try and sort myself out and, you know, come back. That was the plan. I went for youth service in Yobe State, fell in love with Yobe State.
Okay.
No, not with a man. fell in love with Yobe State. It was my first time out of the house. So fell in love with the freedom that I had. But eventually I came home because I had a job that I had to come back to.
Was it the same one?
Yeah. I came back to the PR.
So was it this? Because me, I want to pivot now.
Yeah. Go on.
So was it this company or another company where you were asked to make someone happy?
It was this company. So interesting story. So moved away from the PR firm into the proper advertising firm, started working, had some clients and all of that. At that time, I'd moved into client service. And I remember that I got a really awesome request, if I could put it that way. My boss called me, my CEO called me into the office one day and goes, so we have a client and this client really likes your work. I'm going to try and paraphrase here. Really likes your work, really likes what you're doing, and he wants you to work with him. And you need to make him happy. I'm like, okay, but the other people on the account, how do you make the person happy? And I'm like, okay. And as I'm about to step out of his office, he says, so I turn around and he says, I mean it, you make him happy, anything that he wants. If not, you're out. So I'm pondering what does make...
Which type of happiness?
Safe to say the client was a man. The client representative was a man. And I sort of knew what he was talking about, but I sort of didn't want to believe it, you know. Like, why would you ask me to do such a thing? Like,
how old are you?
21. Yeah, 21, 21, 22. Yes.
Right.
And so, yes, we started work and it was quite interesting. The offer to be made happy was extended. And like I said, I'm a little bit of a rascal. So I sort of should maybe say that I may have had some acting classes as well. So I remember the first time the offer was made, I looked at the man and in my head, I was thinking, so how do we play this? So the next thing I just burst out crying. And then the man was like, what's the problem? What's that? And I just started rambling and talking jazz. Oh, this is not the plan. Oh, I want to be the best at my job. Oh, I thought you were my mentor. Oh, this now go, okay, I'm going to die. Anyway, did all of the drama. And I was like, oh, take it easy. Take it easy. I'm like, you have to help me. They will fire me, you know, and just did one drama. That's that day. And it was just a distraction. Because the request was certain. The request was needed. There was a need. That's why I came on the account, right? So there was no...
You weren't the only female in the team.
I was the only female in the team at that time. So remember that my former woman that I said, so I went back to her, that, Madam, so request has been made. How do we spin it? So we sort of got her to join the account. That she's older than I am.
So support you.
Well, sort of, but my own strategy was like, she's older than I am, so she's of more use in the making happy. You know, she has more experience.
How now? You're fresher.
Well, I didn't think about it that time. I thought about it in terms of experience. Right. Not in terms of freshness. I didn't know that was a thing.
So in a case where the woman or the lady isn't able to play.
Oh, she didn't play.
No. In the case where someone else in your situation, which seems to me like it's a regular occurrence in the corporate world.
Yeah.
In a case where the person isn't able to play the role or act what you're able to act, and the client, you know, what then happens, and what are the possible, where do they go from there?
I like how you've assumed that I didn't play the role. That's fantastic. Anyway,
And but
let's leave that side.
that's because I've had this conversation
Let's
with
leave
you.
that side. I think that I'm happy you asked the question, because that experience in itself is an experience that hasn't left me. And I think it's an experience that has shaped my journey in the corporate space.
Just to be clear,
Yes.
because I just perceived right now
Yes.
that as people are listening to this and
Yes.
watching,
Yes.
someone like, what are you talking about? Someone like, I know you're talking about, but why are you coding it? All of that. This is that you are a staff.
You are a staff
In a
and
company.
in a company, and your boss has said you should sleep with the client
To make the client happy.
to make the client happy.
All right.
Yes. So that's there's no other English for it. I would also say that I think that your values in this situation matter. Now that I am older, I would say that your values, your heritage, your goals, your background, I think this is at the point where they all matter. When you're young sometimes and you have nothing you're looking to sometimes, it's all a matter of excitement, youthful exuberance. We're playing, we're having fun, depending on what kind of person you are. When you come from a good home background, you don't do this, your parents will kill you if this happened, which was pretty much where I came from. You sort of have those issues of, what's going on here? Depending on your values. So that's what I will say, to be honest, is the starting point. So the starting point is, who are you as a person? What are your values? What are your anchors? What do you hold on to? Because that determines whether you are actually interested or not. I must also say that I was quite naive as well. Haven't been in uni, like you would think that I was exposed. I wasn't that exposed. As much as I thought I partied, I still was not that worldly. My dad was a reverend, yeah. So I wasn't that worldly. I remember that I didn't retouch my hair for the longest, towards the end. I didn't wear trousers. I was a skirt-wearing girl, so I was sort of a church girl. So those for me were a bit of, hey, my parents cannot hear this. This must not happen. And I have to say to you that at some point, that was actually it. My parents cannot hear this. Not that I don't want to do it. So let's also be honest. Yeah, because there were different circles that said, look, you can work this to your advantage. There were different circles that said that. There were some circles that said, no, it's a no. Because of course you'd ask a few of your friends. So again, like I said, if you knew now that I'm much older, I would tell you don't do it. Honestly, I would tell you don't do it. It's not worth it. It doesn't do anything for you, really.
Doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything for you. It's a season, it's a moment, It's not the be that and end all of your career. So it doesn't do anything for you. You might move, you might grow, but at some point, it just doesn't do anything for you. And there's a sense of you also saying that, or there's a sense of how you then begin to feel about yourself. What was great was that, interestingly, I think that drama sort of worked a bit for me, because the guy was then insistent in making me the best person in the team. Right. So I then learned a lot from the same client. You understand? So the table sort of turned, and okay, this one is ready to learn. This one is ready to work. I wasn't ambitious when I started that job. My ambition was to be the list lady, but working with that guy made me hungry, made me ambitious. I will say to you that when a woman has money in the workplace, how do they say that thing? Money stops nonsense. Money stops nonsense. If you are making your money, if you have your money, there's nothing they want to push to you. You're like, what is this? No, and you can move. There's also when you know your identity. So a few things that I will say over the years has come to me is, if this doesn't work, I can move somewhere else and do something. I know who I am. I know that I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and I'm ready to work. So it's not about if I lose this job, I won't find another job. I will sell I will sell, I will find something to sell.
Right.
I will find something to do. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes we start off thinking, gosh, if I lose this is all of it. I will also say that there's a flip side to it. So I became really ambitious, really hungry, really devoted to work, and it sort of then defined me.
You found your essence in work.
In work. So if you then give me feedback that my work was not good, it would my life was destroyed. That's the end of my life, you know. So it sort of had its own outcome, if I could put it like that. Yeah.
Right. So these tendencies in the workplace and sex being used as a tool, how much of it have you seen as you rose?
In every workplace that I have been, it's existed. It's existed in different shapes, in different forms. There's the subordinate and superior subordinate one, where it's a power dynamic, right? There's the two colleagues, young rookies, just feeling themselves and having fun, and trying to see where life takes us. And sometimes they then have a relationship. There's what I used to call crying shoulders. Crying shoulders is quite prevalent. So it's one person is in a relationship or is married, but has issues at home. They cry to somebody in the office, and that person becomes their crying shoulder. So you're listening to my deepest pains, my deepest issues, and you sort of are listening to me. You are the one that is there. And there's the syndrome of the crying shoulders.
And that then leads
to what is and what is not. So they're the ones who just say, let's have fun and just ask you. They're the ones who put a bet on your head because you're doing well and they're wondering, let me mess up, you know. So there
are people like that.
Yeah. So they put a bet on your head and say, let's see which one of us gets her first. And it's active. It's an active pursuit. And when I say it's an active pursuit, it's not child's play. Like, they're ready to take you abroad. They're ready to buy you this. They're ready to rent a house for you. They will put everything to making sure they get you. So again, which is why I said that
these things, they happen.
If you are a woman who has come into your own, who has your money, who knows who you are, it then becomes difficult. But if you're not someone who has that and they offer, by the time 3 people are offering these things to you, you're wondering, maybe this, you know, and you're single, by the way, you're not married. So in your mind, not your church mind though, in your other mind, you think they want a real relationship. But in your church mind, you sort of know it's a little too good to be true. And it shouldn't be. And I guess maybe that's why you have some corporations who say, we don't encourage relationships in the office. There's that. There's also the fact that how can husband and wife be working in the same company? If the company folds up, the whole family is hungry, you know. There's also
if they are fighting
that responsibility. If they're fighting at home, they bring it to the office. So I guess that there's also a bit of that. But yes,
what is part about you're single? Like, doesn't it happen with those who are married as well?
Yes. Yeah. But I was saying that if you're single, you sort of start to think of yourself as, okay, you're all that and a bag of chips, which you may be. But remember, I also talked of crying shoulders. Usually crying shoulders, it's mostly with the married folks or people in serious relationships. There's the fact that sometimes you put all of you in the work. And you then have someone who's telling you that you're fantastic at work and the other person at home doesn't see it. You sort of then get dependent. It's like a drug, you know, you get dependent on that.
And the compliments.
That compliment, that, well done, you did it, you know. So you've done well on a transaction. And that's the first person, you know, you tell. And they understand the dynamics. They understand everything. You might get home and your spouse doesn't get it, you know. especially depending on the industry that you work in. Now, you also know that in the bank, at the time when I started, you also had this situation where I remember I went for an interview in a bank. I won't mention the bank.
Please.
And
We might want sponsorship from them, so please don't.
and the woman, I had passed the HR interview. I was meeting with one of the directors, a woman, and she mentioned to me that, okay, I would have to change how I dress. So, of course, I was dressed quite conservatively. And she says, oh, we wear suits and your skirt would have to be above the knee and all of that. And I was like, I don't understand. Why does my skirt have to be above the knee? To walk? Is it not brain I'm using to walk? What does the length of my skirt, And this is a woman telling me this.
Right.
So at the time, there was also the fact that we had what was prevalent. Now we have a lot of this woke generation. They would tell you no, and they would tell you what they want to do. But at that time, we were sort of sheltered and not as courageous. There were a few of us that were crazy and courageous, but it wasn't really, you were always seen as the rebel. So I was the chatty, noise-making, troublesome person. In fact, I was the one that just leave this one alone because she would just embarrass you. So I'm the one that can just start shouting. Hey, you they mad, you they crazy? What's happening? You want to sleep with me? That kind of thing, depending on my mood. I remember once I had a colleague and I was just tired of his drama. And he had his office. I was in the open office. He had his office. And I remember going into his office and I wore a shirt. So I went into his office and shut the door. And I read, I say, what's wrong with you? Are you mad? Are you, of course, used a few swear words at the time that, are you mad? What's wrong with you? Something. And he wanted to shout. I say, if you shout, I will just start screaming. I say, yes. And then I had my hand on my shirt and I was ready to pull it. That, you think if I come out of this office with my shirt torn, you think you will go scot-free?
Yeah, no more.
So I had that, and the guy behaved himself.
Afterwards,
yes, no more shouting. He was very polite to me. Everybody wondered what happened. Very polite.
Just a little bit
if he
of
wanted
weird.
anything, he said his please and thank yous. And I was fine with that, yes. So I
was
had
he a senior colleague?
A senior colleague, very senior colleague. I must have seen that in a movie.
Was he on your case?
Yes, he was on my case.
And let's sleep with you.
I'm not even sure what he wanted. It was between the sleeping and just acting the fool, It's just like, what's wrong with this guy? Let's deal with him, And it makes for a nice story.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm in a conversation with someone who's a top person in a bank, like COO type level, ED type level. And he's to the best of my knowledge, very conservative and responsible. So he's telling me about how, in this Lagos, there's a lot of women in houses that it's not that they are working, they're not doing any work.
You see,
it's just some married man who has means and who's maybe a top business person or a top corporate person who is just keeping this woman in a rented apartment or depending on the level of wealth, bought a house and just keeps her there. And the job the person does is to satisfy the man.
I will spin it a little differently. Yes, you may say that the job the person does is that, but what I will say to you is that they're in some form of relationship. Let's get that.
And he was putting the blame on the men.
No, I agree, but they're in some form of relationship. Now, what it is that, and you remember I was talking about, we move from a timid generation to a woke generation. So what you also have is, there are more women than men.
Yes, so it can't go around.
I didn't say that. But what you also find is that there's some of us who didn't get spouses or have been dealt a hard blow by life. And so remember I told you that I wanted to be a
lace madam.
A lace madam. There's another aspect that I hadn't shared. I wanted to be a kept woman. Yes.
Explain.
I wanted to be taken care of. I wanted to be, I wasn't afraid to work, right? I wanted to work. I wanted to have my own money. I wanted to do that. But I also still wanted someone to take care of me. So even as I wanted to be a lace woman, I didn't mind being a second wife or a third wife or a fourth wife. I really wasn't looking for a guy to come and disturb me because remember, I was controlling shit in the market. So there were guys who were already respecting me, right? But then I still wanted a man to be my crown because traditionally a woman without a crown, really, no matter how much money you have, they don't respect you. So I would be Mrs. Lagbaja, but I would be an independent woman. A lot of people that have moved in their lives to that point where they want to be independent women, not necessarily to be held down in marriage. They want to have their freedom. You know, we talked about it when we're talking about marriage and everything, but this is not about marriage. This is women-men dynamics. So what you have is you have a lot of women who want to be kept. And it's not a bad thing to want to be kept. Sometimes you've seen what your mothers have gone through. You've seen what your sisters have gone through. And please tell me, nobody really wants to suffer. And it looks like the men in this world want to walk. It looks like the men believe that their own thing that God sent them to do is to come and make money. So make the money and share it with me. Not a problem. So you make the money and you're ready to take care of me, right? So we're in a relationship. You house me. That's taking care of me. You pay rent, right? So I'm there. I'm still living my freedom. I can go where I want to go and all of that. I don't have to think about you. In marriage now, I have to think about my husband. I have to think about my 2 kids. I have to think about school run. I have to think about the exams. I have to think about all of those things. Uniform, food they will eat. Do I have the right health? But you find that there's some women who want to be independent. They want to live their lives, right? And they're the ones who just want someone to take care of them. They want to have a child.
So they want someone else to pick the bills for that independence.
They don't mind working. Don't get it wrong. But they don't mind a little support. And if there's a man that is willing to offer that support.
In exchange for what?
In exchange for a relationship.
Relationship with food.
In exchange for a relationship. Oh, it's mutually beneficial. Maru. Don't think of it like that. So it's mutually. He's paying rent. You are playing wife.
You're playing wife. For how long though?
So that's the thing. It's then to say, and if you remember, I went back to what are your values? So are you the person that wants to play wife? For how long do you want to play wife? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What do you envision for yourself? So it's not one that is cut and dried. So yes, the man that shared with you, it's true, it exists. I was sharing with you about how I'm in an exercise group and you hear the stories of people who say they're going to let me step back. I used to go to the gym with my husband at about, I think we used to go about 6 a.m. before, 6 a.m., 6:30. And I told my husband we had to change the time. We had to move it to 5:30. That the people, the women that I was seeing at the gym, I was afraid for my husband.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I had to move it back to 5:30 to say, guy, let's do 5:30. The gym is not crowded, And it wasn't just that the gym was not crowded, but the sheer number of women with asses in your face, breasts in your face. Even me as a woman, you look at some of them like, Jesus, when will I get there? So you can't even imagine a man that he's now seeing that every day. And I don't know. It's like the devil created some designers that create some gym wears. I'm telling you.
Some butters.
I've tried to look for where to buy them, just so I can even be wearing it at home for my husband. But again,
they know where to get it.
They know where they get it from. Like some of them, you just look at them and you're like, as a woman, do you understand?
Like kilo day.
And then they're there with their what is it called, ring lights and phone. Is it not gym that we came to? You've tied your head. You are looking like the whole world. You are frustrated. Sometimes you're even crying. The gym instructor is telling you, it's time to jump. It's time to do this. And you're like, God, this weight must drop, I remember my instructor used to say to me, to tell myself, I will not die. I will not die. I will not. You are shouting, I will not die. I will not die. The other girl's bum is going up and down. I will not die. I will not die. Like, what is this? Do you understand? So there's a lot that is out there. And I think sometimes that lot that is out there takes a lot of discipline from both parties, both sides. There's also the need for people as you grow older.
No, you're actually going to talk about something around the gym.
Oh, yes. So I was saying that, so you then have, so the gym I used to go to, I'm not going to mention the name of the gym. On days when I didn't go with my husband, they would walk up to me. Guys would walk up to me. Hi, how are you? Like, but you saw me with my husband yesterday. You did not greet me. But you're greeting me today, And then they'll be telling you, oh, no, you didn't do it well. This is how you should do it. They'll come and touch you, and tell you how to do it. And then there are the gym instructors as well who come and try and say that they're helping you there. Like, guy, if you touch me one more time, you understand? But there's that. And what I know is from there, you develop a sort of relationship with them. And before you know what's happening, you're friendly. Like, and we've heard the stories of gym instructors impregnating gym members. In fact, I remember we used to get a lot of emails from my gym and I just used to laugh. And I remember one day my husband stopped going because my husband wasn't around. So my husband wasn't going to the gym with me. And I remember that day, I just felt like, I'm just there, just jumping up and down in front of one man. And the man just looking at me, breasts going up and down, going up and down. That was me. You know what? I'm not going to the gym again. I'm going to stay at home. I've sure learned something and I'll use YouTube. And I went home. I told my husband, I don't want to go again. Stop paying for the gym. Of course, I didn't tell him that, but I remember there was a day I just had to tell him that. I just felt weird, I just felt odd. These 4 or 5 men sitting down and you're just there jumping up. And it's like, that's what they just tell you to keep doing. Just be jumping up and down. It was just one kind.
So not everybody goes to the gym for the gym.
They gym something else.
So I know that when we're chatting or when we spoke, you talked about, maybe based on dissatisfaction or whatever is happening in marriages now and stuff.
Yes.
There are women or men who go to the gym, but there are other things like aside the gym or go on school runs.
Yes.
These are like top folk in corporate world.
I remember that. I remember we had the conversation and we're talking about how, again, it goes back to in the corporate space for us women. So when you look at it, remember I was saying that there's the boys club and we have what we call support groups. In our support groups, we don't talk sometimes about the real issues. We sort of skirt around the issues. We talk about how we should behave. We talk about attitude. We talk about those things, but we don't talk about what's your home life like. Are you getting the support that you need? So there sort of is not as much honesty within our support groups. And so if I have an issue, I can't sort of bring it to say, my husband doesn't get what I'm doing at work. And sometimes I want to talk about it. I want to talk about my win. You know how sometimes you just want to complain And you don't need him to tell you,
this is what you should do.
this is
you
what
just
you
need
should do.
someone
You
to
just
hear
need
you.
someone to hear you.
That
Sometimes
seems difficult.
you actually, yeah, it is difficult. Even for interestingly, even for a girl-to-girl relationship, it's difficult. So I know that my girlfriends and I, we tell each other, you must tell what you want. So I go into a conversation with my girlfriend, I'm just here to rant. Don't give me advice.
Right.
Do you understand? Let's set it. Or you go in with, I need advice. So what you find is that I don't know whether there's an impatience in marriage or in relationships. Let me not just say marriage and in relationships. You sort of, or the man just wears that toga of needing to protect you and needing to protect you mentally, physically, and emotionally. So his first response is to help you solve the problem. But somehow when they are doing crying shoulder, they don't wear that jacket.
That's for the men that do that.
And the women too.
Women do crying shoulder too.
Men too come and say, my wife is fat. My wife doesn't listen. My wife has slept before I got home. So you buy lunch, dinner. So when you're ordering your own lunch and dinner, you start ordering for them. Start calling them, what do you want for lunch? Meanwhile, if you call the same man, what do you want for dinner? Say, food. But he's telling the girl, let's have that salad we had yesterday. My bone from salad. But they just find it easier. I think that, now remember, I think we did have a chat around it where I was saying that, I don't know, there's a part of the Bible that talks about something stolen.
I've used it for music. Stolen water, sweet to sweet to drink.
Yes,
you go drink clean mouth to thinking nobody go know. It says stolen water is sweet.
Yes.
And bread eaten in secret is tasty or something like that.
So I think there is a spirit behind that we don't know. It's the same way people cheat. Because really what we're talking about, all of this that we're talking about cheating, really, it's sweet. Do you understand?
It's almost like there's a sinister pleasure that is gotten from taking something
that is not wholly yours. Yes, that is not wholly yours. And for the time that the chase is on, for the time that
adrenaline,
there's that rush, there's that thing. So you put in your all. A man who doesn't buy his wife flowers, if his wife even mentioned flowers, the way he would look, and then you see him in another light and he's buying flowers. A woman who's not doing stuff for her husband at home is
bending over.
Is doing, for sometimes it's not just physical. Let's also remember that. I remember we had this argument in the office that day. Emotional cheating exists. It sometimes never even gets to the physical part. You're just drawn to this person. He's your be that and end all. You know his birthday, you know about his children, you know about his wife's size, you know all of those things. And
you even know his wife's size.
Yeah. You know his wife's size, you know all of those things. You're the one who helps him make his home happy.
And you will not get to the physical.
You will not get to the physical. It's just emotional. It's just emotional. You're just drawn to the person. And that is quite prevalent in the office. So you see, haven't you heard of things like office husband,
office wife?
You understand? Office boyfriend, that kind of thing. I beg, there's no... Stop it if you are doing it. Let me just put it like that.
Isn't it just a matter of time before you guys are actually really
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Some people just crave the emotions. They don't need the physical. As women, sometimes we're not that crazy about the physical thing. Let's be honest. I can stay for the next 1 year with, not Misha, but I've been a woman. But I'm just saying that the women who, haven't you seen that there are more widows than widowers?
The widowers can last.
I don't know, but the women.
It's even scriptural. Abraham lost his wife not long after Keturah. David lost his wife not long after.
Do you understand? So sometimes,
in fact, the way they had to test whether David had died was they put a woman beside him.
So the truth of matter is it's emotional. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to get there. I remember my husband and I talking once about it, and And he was telling me emphatically that emotional affair is affair. And I was trying to, at that time, I was in the core of my banking, whatever. I said, no, it's just somebody that is your friend. I say, which kind of friendship is that? Nah,
Your husband knew what's up.
Yeah, Kojo. Let's not. He worked in the bank as well. He said Kojo. That don't even go there. You know how they say something muffin room.
Nǹkan tó bá ní jẹ, that's what you will not eat.
or something like that. Yeah. As a poor like anyway, whatever you're not going to eat, don't sniff it. So that was his thing to me, that
communications.
Don't even go there. You know, you're not going to eat it. So don't bother say, let's taste it. Because you just might taste it and like it. And there'll be no going back.
And you're not busy.
Yeah, there'll be no going back. So
it's
don't
already
even try.
Be too
late. No turning back.
It's be like, where are you going?
Where are you going to? You understand?
You've already come too far.
Too far. So
they've chopped you already.
You've tasted it. And you know, taste and see.
But this one is not good.
It's not good. That's why I didn't end it. Do you understand? But sometimes good. It's just so there's a lot of work that we need to do as individuals. There's a lot of work that we need to do in the corporate space. There's a lot that we need to do as women. And I'm not just putting it on the women, I'm putting it even on the men in society as well. How do we build our children, our girls? So I've told you about my trajectory, and nobody ever told me, hey, this corporate world that you're going into, they're vultures, they're sharks, they're this in there. Now you can bet that I'm going to tell my daughter about it. You know, there are lots of stories to share with her, but nobody ever tells you these things. So you sort of get in and it's make or break. I do remember a boss of mine told me sink or swim. Yeah.
Meaning?
You get into an organization, you have two choices. You either sink or you
swim with the culture of the organization.
You survive or you just become another person in the organization. It carries different connotations.
Right.
There's a connotation that says that the sink or swim is you either excel or you just become another person and you just stay and move with everybody else. You know, when it's promotion cycle, they will first look at the really good people. You don't hope. When they finish with all the good people, then they will think about you. There's that. But there's also the culture of there are sharks and vultures here. So imagine you are in water with sharks. Are you going to just lounge? You're going to swim, race, you know. Excuse me. So it could also be a bit about that as well. So there are different things. There's also the culture. It's a sink or swim. You either fall in line, right? You either shape up or you shape out. You become different. You show them that I am. I remember that in one of the organizations where I worked, it was tough. I was a female leader, and I got in all excited and all ready to work. And they seemed like they were ready for me. They accepted me, but it was one of those, I had to, how do I say it in Yoruba? I had to juba for the boys club. They had to approve whatever it is I was going to do. If not, it didn't get approval.
It was dead on arrival.
And I got in there and I said, hell no. Because at that time, I knew my identity. I knew who I was. At that time, I was a lot more mature, right? So I got in and I said, no, we're not playing to the gallery here. This one, I own this place. And because I had prayed for that job.
You ain't going to give it up.
No. And when I prayed.
You ain't going to give it up.
No. And when I was praying, I remember the prayer that I prayed. I said, I had some conversations with God, and I had said to him that I know that if he sends me to this place, it's not just to do the work, that he has given me the skill. I have it, the work I can do, but I know he's sending me to some people there, and he's sending me to change some things there. So when you come with that mentality that I'm here not to become a part of them, but to shine, you know. And I remember it was a scripture about letting my light shine that I held on to, that my light must shine. So I got into an organization where my first meeting with my team, I said, let us pray. They looked at me like, what's going on? We're going for presentation. I'm scabashing on my way to. So they're trying to talk to me on the road, visibly. They're trying to talk to me as we're going upstairs. And I say, no, it's not happening. No. And I tell them, guys, and you know I'm tiny now. And then there are all these tall boys and girls walking behind. And I'm saying, guys, you're not praying. What do you think we're going to do inside there? Like, this is it's not child's play.
Play.
It's not child's play. That we're going in there. And I remember about 2 years into it, one of the girls who was working with me said, do you know that every presentation we've had, we've gotten an approval? I said, yes. I am God's child. So I was telling you something about one of the challenges that I had then. I had the boys' club were really hard at it, and it was tough. It was tough because even some members of my team started getting caught up in it. So they tried to use some of them to get me. I remember there was a day we had this meeting. I had called to have a meeting, and I had ordered donuts and things like that and all of that, and they didn't show up for the meeting.
Your team?
My team. So I called them and I said, where are you guys? Because we had two offices. So I said, where are you guys? And the ones in the place where I was, they were ready. The other ones were not there. And I was like, you've got 10 minutes. They were in VI. I was in Lagos Island. You've got 10 minutes to get here. And then took them about 30 minutes. They came. And when they came in, usually they say women should not have an emotional meltdown. This day I really didn't bother. So they came in, and they say that when I'm angry, I speak a lot of English. So they came in and I was like, this is totally unacceptable. I will not take it. And, spoke all the English and everything. They had come in, they were all sitting. I said, everyone, now get out of my office. We're not having any meeting. And, they were stunned. Like, okay, they've come now. They're here. Let's have the meeting. I said, everybody get out of my office. We're not having this meeting. We'll have it 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And they all went out, and I carried the donuts in front of me, and I was eating it, and I was wailing. I was eating it, and I was wailing. I was crying, and I was eating it, I was wailing. I was just...
It wasn't glass walls.
I really didn't care. At that point, I really didn't care. And I remember one of them who had the Spirit of God in him waited. He waited. He was a guy. He waited. And at about 5:30, we closed at 5. At about 5:30, he knocked and said, could he come in? And as he came in, he said, Fumila, I'm sorry. And it just felt like all was right with the world. That was all I needed, Because at that moment, it felt like I was nothing. Like, I do you people's appraisal. I asked you people to come for meeting. You didn't show. But it wasn't, it just was like, what's going on?
I have a random question.
Yeah.
So that moment, that heated, then you cried, he felt, I'm that guy that you said had the Spirit of God. When he came in, if it was not Spirit of God that he had, if it was another spirit that made him wait patiently
to come and cry shoulders.
Come and do crying shoulders.
He probably would have gotten some airplay. Let's be honest. He probably
because that would have been you have been very susceptible.
I was in a very vulnerable position. A very vulnerable position. And I don't know where I saw it, but something came into my head. I don't know where I'd seen it. And it said, no matter the economy of the jungle, the lion will never eat grass. And I remember telling you that evening, I got them to do a picture for me and frame it. So they first framed it in A3. I worked in creative space, so I had tools and all of that. So they framed it and I put it on my wall. No matter the economy of the jungle, the lion will never eat grass. And then the next day, I got them to go and frame it into A1 size. And I put it on my wall where once you come in, you would see it. And for me, it was a reminder that of my identity, of who I was, because I almost gave in. I was at that point where the next thing I was going to do after eating the donuts and everything was to reach out to someone in the boys' club to ask for help. That was the plan that, you know what, I've tried every arsenal in my toolbox. You know what? Let's just
bow to this club.
Yeah, let's just ask them for help. And I knew that asking for help would come at a price. At that point, I was not sure what I was willing to give. Now, let me tell you what I mean by what I was willing to give. I had a couple of pretty girls working with me. One of the complaints that that had filtered to me was that nobody could come toast my girls because of me. So even at that point, a cost would have been maybe letting them have one of them. You know, that kind of thing. I would have to just relinquish something. And
these are real issues.
Yes, I would have to relinquish something. And I knew somewhere that I didn't want to, but I was physically, mentally, and emotionally drained. And I think women in the corporate space usually have that vulnerability. I should also share that I had some reproductive issues at the time. We never tell people that, but there's an expectation that everything is right with you. But I had some issues, so I had been bleeding for about a year, every day continuously. So even that in itself was affecting me physically.
Bleeding,
like you're having your period for a whole year. Yeah. But you can't share with anyone. You have to show up every day. And it's interesting because you have to sort of sort out that part of your life without anybody knowing. You can't afford to look weak. And the reason why I mentioned this is I had a director that I then reported to later, and we got talking. Somehow we got talking after work. And female. And I was just telling her, so she was like, oh, she always knew when I was on my period and everything because my moods were always just one kind. And so I then shared with her, and she said, that what am I talking about? That she will open suitcase for me. And she had the same issue too now. And I was like, gosh, you mean you've gone through this and I had to go through the same thing, and you had solutions and things so you had a big meeting. You had to prepare yourself. So you'd use your sanitary towels and everything, and even including diaper, including cup, including tampon, just so that you can go into the meeting and look like a boss lady. There's no stain. Or sometimes you finish the meeting and you just can't get up. You need to just let everybody leave. Then you have to call someone to bring you a scarf or something, you know. So those are also real issues that you're going through that nobody knows. Nobody can tell. So, and that in itself puts a strain on home front as well, whether you like it or not. There's the emotional part to it. And then you're at work dealing with some
bastard.
Some peoples. You know, in fact, you are even thinking, not even you haven't gotten to the bastards. You are even thinking of your team, the work, before you even get to the bastard. Do you understand? But then there's someone who comes and says, oh, you look anemic today. Are you okay? Have you had something to eat?
And you're showing care.
Yes. And you're like,
and you
no.
need that
and then
care.
At that moment, the person says, okay, I'll order you a salad. Or you're looking, you know, you're adding weight and something. And there's this person that comes and says, I see you're adding weight. It looks like you're in a lot of stress. So he doesn't make adding weight look like
it's your fault.
It's your fault. It's a bad thing, you know. And
but then it might be your fault at home.
It might be your fault, but you know.
So the temptation is more intense.
Yeah, that care to just, he gets me. Oh, gosh. He just understands. And there's the guy at home that's just like, you didn't make food for me. Why are you just coming? You missed your daughter's recital. Your daughter has no uniform for tomorrow. Like, I don't understand. She has no uniform. She won't my shuffle. You know. And then there's also the societal pressure. When mommy and daddy says, hey, our church is doing harvests. say you are going to come. How much are you going to give us? Like in all of this, that's the one. We haven't seen you in a long time. Oh, and the lovely one. You have only given us one child. When are we going to see number 2? Or the one that happened to me. My uncle-in-law said to me, oh my goodness, oh, you're pregnant. We're expecting another one. And I was just fat. I was so mad. I told my husband, I said, I'm never going to speak to your uncle again. My husband said, why? What happened? He said, I'm fat. My husband said, okay. I said, what do you mean? Okay. Are you not going to say, I'm not fat? He said, I cannot tell a lie. I cannot tell a lie. I say, okay. I like to share my t-shirt. Yeah. So those are the things that happen in the, yes, these are the issues. These are the issues. There's competition also from women, from other women as well.
For the few spaces.
Yes, for the few spaces there's competition. Again, there's a lot that happens. So my peculiar situation was a tiny girl. So when everyone first sees you, they just think you're just one smally, you know. So you come in, tiny girl. I'm lucky to have a husband that's got taste, that's got class. So lots of designer shoes and bags. They would think it's me that bought it. So get in there with my shoes and my bags, with my cheap shirt and skirts, but it's okay because I'm looking like, you know, all that and a bag of chips. And some people are beefing me. Like, I don't understand. Somebody's keeping me. It's not me, you know. But
you still eventually got your
I'm
kept woman.
I'm kept. Oh la, I'm kept. I'm kept by God first and foremost. And then, but the way, no, seriously, I'm kept by God. And the way that he has kept me is that he has given me a man that I have had the pleasure of growing with. Yeah.
That's a loaded statement.
Yeah.
But I don't, I knew I didn't want to go that route on this.
Yeah, we're not going there. But no, but safe to say that we've had our ups and downs, as with any marriage, but he's been good to me. And I've been a fantastic wife.
You have been so good to me. Boy, I can't believe how you love me.
You know.
What a friend you have been. And that your statement of I've been a fantastic wife. Sounds very other roomish.
Well, we thank the Lord. Yes. So let me just share this. It's not part of it, but I remember that a friend of mine, you know, so I guess because of my nature, the kind of friends that I have are also not that's
very
okay.
All right.
Yes. So we sort of talk about a lot of things. And I remember one day.
You know, I know one of your friends. So in my head, I'm trying to think of how in these lights. I'm like, yo.
Okay. So we also interestingly have a lot of male friends, right? And what we sort of tried to do, or what I learned to do, was having one of my husband's best friends is my ex-colleague, my own ex-colleague. And sometimes I look at them like, when did this happen? You know? So you sort of bring them in. I think it was on one of your shows, you talked about it, that sometimes the acknowledging the problem and taking it out in the open also helps. Similar to what you said to me this morning, that sometimes when you speak about the issue, you get your healing. And I think it helps a lot. So
you can tell she listens to the Black Flame.
So one of the things for me was also ensuring that there was no friend that I had that I was close to that my husband, my people, the people that mattered to me did not know. Because you sort of are now in some closet. You don't need to be in that closet. So bring it out in the open, right? And so that was sort of a pact that we made. So even from his side as well, has someone he's close to, has someone he's doing business with,
I'll let you know.
I will meet the person as well. And some are like, oh, I'm pretty, what's going on? And then we talk about that. And I'm always talking about that, I'm just always talking about it.
Just make sure that
yes, and I'm saying, may
making you
God continue
conscious.
to give you grace as you go through this transaction. May God let you find favor. Just putting God inside this, so that when he sees the person, he just remembers the conversation we had in the morning and God, that kind of thing.
That's some wisdom. That's some wisdom.
You just put it. In fact, when you're praying, you pray for the person as well. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, this lady that is our friend, Father, let her be happy in her home. Everything that she desires, let her husband love her. Let favor find her.
When you are praying by yourself or together?
When I'm praying by myself in the presence of my husband hearing.
He hasn't deep.
I will wake up in the middle of the night and be praying for us. Then I'll pray that part.
That's actually quite wise, So I have one more question.
Okay.
Then we'll bring in the grills. Because Ubana is our amazing partners, or supporters, or sponsors. And we would always present an Ubana package to our guests. Do you think, so we've seen, even though you say the fact that we have to count them is an issue in itself. For women in corporate world who are rising and becoming powerful. Do you think that female power in the corporate world is real?
It is. It is. In fact, before you ask the question, I was going to tell you that, interestingly, I have stood, how do they say that? I've stood on the shoulders of awesome women, like the people who have held me, who have made me strong. I've had bosses that have been excellent. And when I say excellent, not only do they wield female power, but there's wisdom. They know God, So I will also say to young people who are going into whatever it is, corporate space, whatever business that you're going through, is that as you go in, also ask for the spirit of discernment. Also ask for God to guide you, to the right audience and to the right location and to the right people. I remember one time like that, I can't mention his name, but a popular musician had something to do with our bank. And it seemed like he wanted to scam us. Anyway, no. Don't worry. It's not that one. It wasn't our, what do they call it? Anyway, it wasn't that. He was doing a transaction with us, and he had said he would create some things at the time, and we would be able to give to our customers and all of that. And he would put his music, all of that. So it was a nice transaction, but he was reneging on that thing. And he had gone to the business side to speak to them to say...
Is that word reneging or reneging?
Reneging? I don't know.
I'm not sure myself.
So let's use both. Right. Anyway, he wasn't keeping with his...
with his side of the agreement.
And I remember that day, my boss had asked me to do all the research, have all the documents in place, had all the facts and everything. So I was so excited that I was going against a popular guy, ambitious girl now. So excited and, and all of that. So you remember the ARC files now. So carried the ARC file to the director's office with my madam, feeling like, what's that movie?
The Devil Wears Prada.
The Devil Wears Prada.
I just knew it was that
feeling like, today we're going to take someone down, Got into the office, the man, how are you and everything. Like I said, I had a nickname, Smolly. So even the director used to call me Smolly. Smolly.
You were in the bank now?
Yes, I was in the bank, yes. Say, Smolly, how are you? Fine, thank you, sir. Had my game face on. We're here. And my madam had told me, when we get in there, we're not going to agree. We're not going to... So me too, I had game face on. So we got in there. And
the musician was there as well?
No, he wasn't there. It was just the director. And my madam she sat down, I sat down beside her. I was ready to open file. Do you understand that? There's no nothing you ask me for that I will bring out the paper. And then the man said, so where are we? And then, she talked about, and then at that point she said, so she turns to me and said, and I was talking. Give me a name to use. Just give me a name. A
Dapo.
female name.
Folashade. He's too close to the person. Man, spirit.
So he says to her that, Damilola. He says, Damilola. So she goes, sir. She then looks at him. Meanwhile, I'm still, reeling on. And then she just taps me. And then I keep quiet. And then she turns, said, Kilefe. I don't understand. She means we are not going to agree. Which one is, how did we shift like this? I said, what do you want? And before I knew what was happening, there and then, we set up new terms and everything in 20 minutes. We had agreed new terms, how to restructure for the guy, what we were going to do and everything. And I had to, start taking notes and all of that. And it was just different because we went in there to fight. What I learned from that interaction is that you may go in with a strategy, but when you get in there, you need to also read the room. You need to also go with God, So when we came out, trust me, I said, what happened in there? I said, wisdom is profitable to direct. We could not win. So we needed to change strategy. We won eventually because it was our terms that they agreed to, but it wasn't about fighting. So from that moment...
But this director was in your company?
Yes, a guy.
Not with the musician?
No. So the musician knew, the musician he was going to have to pay. So he had gone to appeal to the business side. Yes. He had gone to appeal to the director to say help. So the purpose of the meeting, if he was there, it would have been ruffle. So the purpose was, let me hear you guys out. But it was really how do we move on from here? But I went in with my rookie mind of thinking. So one of the things that I learned from there is that female power is real. She was sensitive enough to see what was happening. I related to the burning bush and Moses. Moses was doing his thing. But while doing his thing, he saw that there was a bush that was burning and not burning the normal way things should burn.
He observed
it. Yeah, he was observing, but he was still doing it. He wasn't just idle. So we were going in there to protect the business, but she was sensitive enough and aware enough to note that, no, this is not the meeting for fighting. So even though we brought fight into the meeting, she sort of, babe, calm down. No, we're not fighting here. And we reached a mutually beneficial agreement. Now,
what department was yours? Since you keep saying business side.
Marketing communications.
Right.
So what was great about it is that director became one of our greatest allies and support in that business.
Okay. So
and he was a man.
Right. So I think you spoke to female instinct and using your female instinct as a power, as a tool,
as a power,
as an asset.
Yes.
I was kind of asking about when women rise in the corporate world right now at the time, especially in Nigeria. Is it at the mercy of men?
So what? A lot of women rise with men supporting them. A lot of women I know, a lot of women I've seen, a lot of women I've studied, I've had men backing them. God backing them as well. Jesus being a man too. But yeah, a lot of women I know, I've seen. Yes, you have females that have supported you, but the men have to also support you. The men also have to give room. They have to sort of make room for you. And this is the part that worries me. I sometimes feel like our men in Africa sort of have a cap, a limit for us that you women can get to here, but you will not get past here. I sort of feel like
Glad
that.
you feel like that.
I am, because I've seen it. I've seen a lot of it happen. I've seen a lot of women that have been my what do you call them? People that I look up to. Models that inspiration that men have sort of caught. And you're wondering, why did you do that? This thing could have been solved differently. Again, I do not know the genesis. I do not know the true or the thing, but I've seen it happen a lot of times. And it happens with men as well. But again, that's the norm. But we're saying that if you're really making room for women, if I make a mistake as a woman, they're not kind to me. They're not kind to women.
Should they be kinder to women if they are not to men?
It's very subjective. But I feel like some things that they will allow men, they don't allow women. If a woman makes a mistake, everyone is going to be, you see, we said it. If a man makes a mistake, you might never hear of it. So I don't know whether the word is kind. I don't know. I'm not sure what the word is, but I just know that.
Equitable?
It's not fair. It's not fair. That much I can tell you. But I just sort of feel that if a woman makes a mistake, the whole world is going to hear. But and I know men make mistakes, but you just never hear of it. They somehow just cover it. Even women cover it for the men, you know.
It's the mother instinct.
I guess so. But yes.
Yeah, I'm kidding. No, I'm not.
No. I think it's all part of it. I think it's all part of it. I remember, and then they're just funny things that happen. They never tell, no matter how senior you are, they still expect you to be the tea girl. You know, no matter how senior you are, you're just still the one who's carrying tea for them. Hey, tea choke you there. You know, it's just, they just turn to you. Do we have snacks? And then I turn to the guy too. Do we have snacks? Like, guy, did you make plans? Do you understand? But it had to be conscious. So there are just some things that are attributed to women because our place is in the kitchen, our place is in the home, and we women too do it.
And so and I ask this because I know that we touched on this a bit, not in the corporate sense. In my conversation with Kingsley Okonkwo, Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo. So maybe the issue is letting that play out in the corporate space. You know, it might not be I mean, just off my conversation with Pastor Kingsley, I don't think it seems like it shouldn't be an issue on the home front in the sense that, I mean, he goes like by design.
Who designed?
God's design. You are created with food and shelter. Like naturally. Your body comes with food for another human being, not for yourself. Comes with shelter for another human being. So there's almost
an innate
build that gives that
in my house.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
In my house, not in the office.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not
like
sheltering anybody. I'm not feeding anybody. No, I'm just telling you.
Maybe the issue is why is
they should not
even the Bible kind of speaks to it by saying where the Bible talks about women, men, it talks about her own husband.
This one.
It doesn't talk about men. So what I'm saying is, the Bible doesn't say a woman should
make tea for her boss in the office.
Yes, it's her husband.
So
it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. That the issue is culturally they just keep seeing women in that light in every space. So it shouldn't be the case.
Working in East Africa, working with white people, they don't expect me to make tea for them.
It's that because culturally they don't necessarily expect their wives to make
yes, they don't expect me to make tea for them. So yes, you may be right that culturally, but hey, we're in the corporate space. You people don't want to put anything culture now. Don't want to do anything culturally. So let's not do culturally, because if not, culturally we'll be wearing Iran Buba to the office. Do you understand? So you don't want to follow. So on all grounds, let's not follow.
I'm on your side.
Okay. I'm just saying.
I'm not the one that asked you for it.
I'm just saying. No, it's just a natural thing. They say, Formula, do we have? Sometimes I now turn to the next man. So do we have?
That's a good response. I think. I think women can take a key from there. When they ask you to ask the man.
Ask the man beside me. Do we have?
So you keep trying to correct that.
I learned early that. So what we do as women, you go into a meeting of 1 hour. Don't say ha. You are there just writing notes. Because you are a stenographer. 1 hour of your life has gone. And you will leave that place. They will not know. They will not even remember that you were there. They say, who will take notes? You say, I will take notes. What happened to the man to take notes? Do you understand? So sometimes, even for us women, we're quick to jump at those homely type things, right? So I think one of the things that my boss taught me, this woman that I was saying gave me wisdom, was she would tell me, when we're going into the meeting, you have to speak up. You have to have a thought. You have to have an idea. Which means also that you have to listen. And in the place of listening,
be present.
You hear. Yes, be present. So don't come into meetings and not say anything. Like, no matter how junior you are. Sometimes I'm at the back and they say, oh, are we done? And then you see my hand. And then you see someone say, oh, it looks like she has a thought. And then I just say, oh, I was just thinking. That's how I used to do it. And I remember my boss calling me one day and said, no, not I was just thinking. You say it with confidence. I was just thinking. I thought, you are still thinking it. Because I've had a situation where I said I was thinking about someone, and the person says, keep thinking. Yeah, thinking, keep thinking. Do you understand? So don't put yourself in that space.
Be affirmative.
Be affirmative. Yes.
Be confident.
Say what you want to say, and what's the worst that can happen? They'll tell you shut up. But you know what? Even if they tell you shut up, they will remember you. Women in the corporate space, dressing matters. That one I know. Dressing matters. And I see a lot of people try to wear, I don't know, is it lycra? I don't know what that fabric is. Is it just everything is on your body? That is a disaster. No, let's not go there.
Lycra is a disaster.
It's a disaster. Rhymes. Let's not go there. Lycra. Everything, you just look. No. There's something called power dressing.
You look welcoming.
You don't understand. When I enter a room, I take over the room. From dressing, from the look, from the way you smell, and then from the way you speak. Lots of people have asked me, oh, I like the way you speak. Where did you learn from? And I tell them Sesame Street. I don't watch action. Now I watch action with my husband, but I love to watch drama. I love to watch plays because they say a word, I repeat the word. The most embarrassing thing happened to me. My cousin came and can't remember what we're discussing. Anyway, let me spell the word first. Paradigm.
Paradigm.
I say paradigm. She burst out laughing. It's like...
You were kids?
That kid.
Teenagers?
I was not that teenager.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. It's like manslaughter. Man's laughter. No, seriously. Is it not man's laughter?
True that.
Laughter. Do you understand? But didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know. So I watch those things.
So equip yourself.
Yes, you equip yourself. So that
capacity.
When you get into that space, what is missing can be learned. Because something will always be missing. That's why you are there. You are there to learn and to also share of what you have. And I tell people that expertise is the basic form. It's the other things that you put on top of it. Knowing the job is the basic form. My boss told me once that what you do to make the job different is your stamp that you put on the job. So if there's a task to be done, there's black
dropping timestamps at the end.
Black Flame that we're doing, Abby.
Yeah.
Anybody else could have done Black Flame too. But what makes this Black Flame podcast different is what Gaise Baba has put on it. So if somebody else wants to copy it, that way you speak, where you bring in the pidgin and the Yoruba and that person may not be able to do it. That way what are the other things you bring into it,
Just
you know? The depth of the conversation, another person may not be able to do it. That's what makes it different. So not struggling in the corporate space means that you're going, knowing who you are and knowing what exactly you are bringing to the table. And if you're not bringing anything to the table, it's okay. Today you're not bringing, you'll bring tomorrow. But that today that you're not bringing, are you listening? Are you observing? Are you learning? So even to the way you sit, even to the way you, especially when you go for training abroad, for example, you are not the first person to go out and shop and bring shopping bags and put under the table because company finally sent you to the abroad. Do you understand? You comport yourself. There's a sense around it. When you have conversations, don't just have, I was going to say stupid.
You
to
said
find
it.
another word. Don't just have superficial conversations.
Beautiful.
Don't just talk about what's happening on social media.
On
Do you know
blogs.
what's happening on blogs? Do you know what's happening in the news? And when I say in the news, I remember that I asked one girl, she came for an interview, and I asked her, what's our share price? The share price of the business. She had no idea. You want to work for this company? You don't know our share price? Like, it's not something they would normally ask you, but for me, it was important. A lot of women come as the dumb blonde airheads. We sort of know just what we need to know. But in the corporate, you need to substance, substance over beauty. I think that the beauty of a woman is not just in your face. It's in also what you bring. When you talk, and everybody just has to listen because you are the one talking. Not the one that you are talking and they are talking over you.
Please, let's have our grill.
Sorry. I've entered.
Brilliant.
I've entered my mode.
Yeah. FF of life. Can you read what's on it?
Madam.
It's for
Madam.
So,
I'm a young girl. So is Madam.
Huge thanks to Urbana Grill. They are Paul Legalia, you're in the street. I wanted to say here in VI, and I remember that.
No,
we're not exactly in VI.
VI.
But here on the island, I can say here on the island.
Yeah.
So, Omo, Madu. Oh, some salad.
Salad. For the woman.
So that is a woman.
Thank you. Let me wear my glasses back. We're not fighting again.
You have that. And then you have...
Oh, wow. Oh, thank you. Now, wow.
Then this is mine. This one is mine.
Oh, nice.
So I'll taste it and then we'll close the show.
Yeah, thank you. Urbana Grill.
This is all yours.
Oh, thank you. Sober living experience. Sober. Okay.
Oh, I have salad.
Oh, nice.
They want me to eat healthy.
Healthy.
So I will not have to be going to gym at 5:30 a.m.
Yes, it's something I do.
And I will not go and be looking at what I see in the morning.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you, Bana. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Any messages, just pop it out. Messages, feedback, inquiries, send an email to blackflame@gaisebaba.com. blackflame@gaisebaba.com. Thanks for joining us on this episode. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Chatting with FF from Layo Falola, Superwoman.
No, Superwoman. There's still so much to
I know.
learn. Yes.
Okay, I thought you wanted to
Superwoman.
say there's still so much to share.
Yeah.
The one
You
you
know,
shared for now.
But let's
The
leave.
one you
Let's leave
shared for
this one.
now.
Let's
Skip it like
let's
that.
no. Let's leave this one.
See you guys next time, next
Yeah.
episode. My name is Gaise Baba. Our shifting culture. Steady. Let go.